What if the reason you felt different your whole life isn't because you're broken? What if it's because you've been trying to operate with the wrong manual? Tonight, I'm going to show you a map, an ancient classification system, so specific that one of these types will hit you like a memory you didn't know you had. And when it does, don't ignore it, because recognition is not an emotion, it's a signal. Let's go to the hidden chamber. In a previous video, we learned about the 3 levels of humanity: hylic, psychic, and pneumatic. Today, we focus exclusively on the pneumatics. If you know you are a spark, you must now ask, what kind of fire am I? In a late Gnostic text known as the Pistis Sophia, there is a scene that reads like a sealed briefing. Not a sermon for the masses, not a stage for applause, but a private chamber, an inner circle moment where spiritual knowledge is presented as something precise, almost technical. Before we go further, hear me clearly. This is not a medical diagnosis. This is not a replacement for therapy. And this is not a permission slip to ignore real mental health needs. Think of this as a symbolic map, an archetypal framework designed to help you understand patterns in your psyche and your life. Take what resonates, leave what doesn't, because the goal is not to feel special. The goal is to become clear. In that chamber, the text suggests something radical. The pneumatic soul, the one carrying the divine spark, is not a single category, not a monolith, not one size fits all. Instead, it describes distinct functions, different frequencies, different roles, different ways divine intelligence expresses itself inside a human nervous system. And this is exactly what the control system of this world, what the old texts called Archons, and what we might call the machine, the grid, the attention economy, does not want you to understand. Because if you don't know your function, you try to live someone else's. A person born to see truth tries to become nice. A person built to heal tries to become indestructible. A person designed to disrupt corruption tries to become obedient. And the result is always the same: confusion, burnout, self-blame. Not because you're weak, because you're misassigned. So do this with me right now. Place your hand over the center of your chest. Close your eyes for 5 seconds and feel the warmth under your palm. That warmth is not a fantasy. It's regulation, it's presence, it's recognition. The old language called it the spark. Modern language might call it intuition, conscience, inner knowing. Either way, something in you knows when it is being spoken to. And the reason you clicked on this video, the reason you felt like a stranger in your own family, the reason shallow religion sometimes felt like dry bread, may not be because you're lost. It may be because you've never been properly classified. Systems always prefer predictable humans. Predictable humans are easier to market to, easier to manage, easier to control. So tonight, we dismantle the confusion. We're going to walk through the 8 types. 7 of them are stabilizers, builders, healers, translators of truth. But the 8th is the one the system fears most, because it doesn't just awaken inside the prison, it reprograms the prison. Listen closely. One of these descriptions will fit you so perfectly, it will feel like I'm reading your private journal. When you hear it, claim it. And if you don't find yourself in the first 3, don't leave, because the last one explains a lifetime of why am I like this? The first frequency is the Seer. In the ancient language, Seers were those who could perceive the subtle layer behind the visible world. In modern terms, you have an unusually sensitive pattern recognition system. You walk into a room and you don't just see smiles, you sense motives. You pick up what isn't being said. You notice micro changes, tone, timing, energy, contradiction. And you've probably been called paranoid, judgmental, too intense, overthinking. But here's the question that matters. Looking back, were you paranoid or were you accurate? Seers often live with a Cassandra pattern. You see the train before it hits. You warn people, they dismiss you. Then months later, when the truth reveals itself, they come back and say, "How did you know?" The seer's burden is that truth arrives early, and early truth is lonely. Your lesson isn't to stop seeing. Your lesson is to speak with precision without needing control. Because seeing the truth doesn't always mean you can force others to see it. You must learn the difference between discernment and obsession. The seer becomes powerful when they stop scanning for danger in everyone and start choosing where their vision is welcome. The second frequency is the healer, not a profession, a frequency. You are a somatic empath. Your body picks up emotional climates the way a radio picks up stations. You can be fine, then walk into a room and suddenly feel heavy. You can sit with someone and feel their grief in your chest. Healers don't just listen, they metabolize. People are drawn to you without understanding why. You go to buy milk and the cashier tells you their life story. Strangers confess to you. Broken people feel safe near you. And the downside is real. You feel tired for no obvious reason. Social gatherings exhaust you, not because you're antisocial, because you've been running emotional processing in the background like an engine you didn't choose. The healer's primary trap is martyrdom. If you don't build boundaries, the world will confuse your compassion for permission. You cannot heal those who do not want to be healed. And you are not required to sacrifice your life force to prove you're good. You were not born to be a sponge. You were born to be a channel. So your lesson is simple and hard. Boundaries before empathy. Rest before rescue. Truth before guilt. The third frequency is the prophet, not fortune-telling, truth-carrying. You have a biological intolerance for hypocrisy. When something is fake, unjust, or corrupt, your body reacts. Nausea, heat, pressure. You cannot play along when there's an elephant in the room. You are the one who ruins the polite dinner because you ask the forbidden question. Prophets receive insight in blocks, not a slow thought, an arrival, a sudden clarity. This is what's really happening. That doesn't mean you're magical. It means your mind synthesizes patterns quickly, often from subtle cues others ignore. And because systems depend on silence, prophets are often treated as the problem, not because you are wrong, because you are disruptive to denial. Your lesson is to speak truth without needing applause, to speak truth with contempt, to speak truth with clean intent. Because a prophet with clean intent becomes unstoppable, and a prophet with wounded intent becomes a weapon that harms everyone, including themselves. The fourth frequency is the guardian, protector, perimeter mind, spiritual warrior. You scan environments automatically. You sit facing exits. You track where your people are without trying. You may have been labeled anxious, but often it isn't anxiety. It's vigilance shaped by a protector nervous system. When you see someone bullied, when you see an animal harmed, something ancient activates. You move before you think. And strangely, guardians can be gentle most of the time until protection is required. Then fear disappears. The guardian's burden is that they forget to put down the shield. Vulnerability feels like a security breach. Intimacy can feel unsafe because your system is built for defense. So your lesson is not to stop protecting. Your lesson is to learn when protection is needed and when protection is just a habit. Because a guardian who never rests becomes hard, and a guardian who learns softness becomes holy. The fifth frequency is the decoder, the pattern hacker, the one obsessed with why. You don't care about surface drama, you care about structure. You see connections others miss. You can look at a confusing situation and identify the hidden variable. You learn systems fast: history, economics, psychology, religion, tech. Not because you want to be right, because you can't relax until the puzzle makes sense. Decoders sometimes feel cold to emotional people, not because you lack feeling, because you process meaning through structure first. Your biggest burden is cynicism. When you see the strings, the show loses its magic, and if you aren't careful, knowledge becomes poison. So your lesson is to keep wonder alive, to remember that understanding the code is not the final goal. The final goal is what you do with it. Expose without despair, reveal without contempt, build with what you learn. Because a decoder who only exposes becomes bitter, but a decoder who builds becomes a bridge out of the labyrinth. The sixth frequency is the anchor, quiet, underestimated, essential. You may not feel called to perform. You may not be the loud activist with a public teacher, but you might notice something odd. Where you go, people regulate. Chaos slows down. Arguments soften. Rooms feel calmer. Your presence stabilizes emotional weather. People like being at your home. They say, "I sleep better here. It feels peaceful here." You may also feel pulled to certain places, not because of logic, because your life seems pinned to a location. Anchors carry a subtle responsibility. They hold stable nodes in unstable times, and the burden is invisibility. Because your work is quiet, nobody applauds it. You may feel you're not doing enough, while your presence is exactly what keeps certain spaces from collapsing. Your lesson is to stop measuring your value by visible results, and to stop disappearing to make others comfortable. Because the anchor's peace is not weakness, it is power without noise. The seventh frequency is the mirror, one of the hardest social frequencies to carry. You trigger projections. You can be polite, quiet, kind, and someone across the room instantly dislikes you. Not because you did something, because your presence reflects what they avoid in themselves. If they are dishonest, they accuse you of dishonesty. If they are insecure, they label you arrogant. If they are unhealed, you become their villain. Mirrors often experience confusing social losses. Friends disappear. Jobs end for vague reasons. People either idealize you or demonize you fast. And your lesson is brutal. Other people's reactions to you are data about them, not a verdict about you. You are not responsible for the stories people write about you to avoid accountability. You are responsible for staying clean, staying true, staying grounded. Because a mirror who begs to be understood becomes trapped, but a mirror who accepts their role becomes free. Now take a deep breath. Release your expectations, because the eighth type is not here to be liked. It's here to end cycles. The eighth frequency is the Disruptor. In symbolic terms, while the healer patches the wounded, while the seer warns of the trap, while the guardian protects the perimeter, the Disruptor attacks the architecture. Not people, the architecture. The false agreements, the corrupted rules, the emotional blackmail, the lies everyone accepts to keep things comfortable. Disruptors carry a high-voltage signature. They create pressure in stagnant systems. They force truth to the surface. And because of that, systems push back, not always through supernatural forces, but through labels, social consequences, isolation, and fatigue. If you're a disruptor, your life may follow a recognizable map. First, the diagnosis of too much. As a child, you were too loud, too curious, too sensitive, too intense. You challenged rules early. You asked questions adults couldn't answer. People tried to shrink you through shame, punishment, or constant correction. And sometimes your difference overlapped with real neurodivergence. That matters. But here's the key. Even when labels are valid, the system often uses them to make you believe your intensity is a defect instead of a force that needs direction. Second, the isolation pattern. Disruptors become exponential when they gather, so they're often kept as the odd one out, lonely in crowds, misunderstood in relationships. It's like you're speaking a language others refuse to learn. Third, the energy drain cycle. Right when you're about to break through, life hits you with distractions, unexpected bills, family emergencies, chaos. Not because the universe hates you, but because your nervous system burns hot, and a burned-out disruptor is harmless to the system. Fourth, the false mission. The system tries to recruit you. It takes your hunger for change and channels it into dead ends. Endless outrage, endless arguments, endless us versus them. Not because fighting for justice is wrong, but because misdirected fire becomes a cage. Disruptors are not meant to fight illusions. They are meant to reveal the real battlefield. Truth versus denial, conscience versus control, inner sovereignty versus manufactured identity. If you're still watching, the recruitment failed, because the disruptor's true nature is freedom. You are the one who quits the job because it kills your soul. You are the one who walks away from the relationship even when it costs you. You are the one who senses that many rules are just fear wearing a uniform. But hear this clearly. Your gift is not chaos. Your gift is liberation. Your lesson is learning where to aim. Because fire can destroy, or fire can forge. A disruptor with no discipline becomes self-sabotage. A disruptor with discipline becomes a revolution in human form. And that is why the system feared you before you even understood yourself. Whether you are a seer, a mirror, or a disruptor, the instruction is the same. Stop pretending you're built for a life that suffocates you. Stop pretending you only want comfort. That mask is killing your spirit slowly. Now we're going to do a micro-activation, not a spell, a decision, a nervous system command. Straighten your spine gently. Breathe into your belly. Feel the base of your spine. Imagine a cord of light moving downward into the earth, steady, rooted. Now imagine a clean white current above your head. Clarity, conscience, higher mind. Let them meet in the heart. And now say this silently or aloud. I revoke agreements to be small. I revoke agreements to abandon myself for other people's comfort. I reclaim my frequency. I reclaim my function. I choose truth with compassion. Stay there for 1 breath, 2 breaths. If you felt something shift, quiet, subtle, that's enough. You don't need fireworks. You need alignment, because alignment is what makes the system lose its grip. This message survived because it fits a specific moment in human history. A moment where people are exhausted by performance. A moment where reality feels scripted. A moment where the old stories no longer work. And that's why you're here. Not because you're broken, because you're waking up. Now anchor this in 3 moves. First, identify. Don't overthink it. Which type made your stomach drop? Which one made your eyes water? Which one felt like being seen? That is your type. Go to the comments and declare it. I am a seer. I am a healer. I am a prophet. I am a guardian. I am a decoder. I am an anchor. I am a mirror. Or if you're the dangerous one, the disruptor is awake. Second, signal. Hit the like button, not for vanity, to push this signal through the algorithm so it reaches the people who still think they're crazy for feeling the glitch. Third, gather. Subscribe. This channel is a gathering point for the ones who can't pretend anymore.